Okay, and you will be able to unmute when and if you want to. Welcome everybody to week 4 of our district membership chair training. I appreciate you all being with us this week. This is the second broadcast of the show, and we had a very successful event on Tuesday, so you're in for 3 great presentations today. Last week we focused on resources that are available to you, either as a district membership chair or in another leadership role. And this week we'll be talking about the Grow Rotary initiative that you've heard so much about over the last year, as well as a look at innovative clubs. And so you're in for a good hour coming up. Our first presenter today is Audley Knight, who is our regional membership officer, and he also serves 2 other zones. And most of you have probably met Audley in person or by email, or you caught him during last week's show on the resources. He is himself one of our great resources. And Audley, I'm happy to turn the show over to you to talk about the Grow Rotary initiative.
Let me unmute. Thank you very, very much. Let me start by saying, whoops. Let me start by saying the normal checks for the Zoom meetings. Can everyone hear me? Just a thumbs up, and everyone can see my screen. Wonderful. Again, the Grow Rotary initiative is just to share a little bit of what's happening right now. And the idea now that I wanted to do is just look at the graphic that's in front of you to see what's happening with Rotary and membership worldwide. Brazil is kind of going up a little bit. Latin America is basically stagnant. Africa is growing, the Asian market is growing, but North America is actually coming down. It's actually reducing a little bit. And most of you may have seen these numbers before, but I just wanted to share them again as to why the need to grow Rotary and this idea specifically about Grow Rotary linking to North America. Asia has grown over the past 10 years from 26 to 32%, and this is Rotary International's population worldwide. Canada, the Caribbean, and the US have dipped a little bit from 32 to 28. Africa, Europe, and the Middle East has basically remained the same. Latin America also basically remained the same. Great Britain and Ireland, which is RIBI, has dropped a little bit. Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands has also dropped a little bit as well. For the North American market, though, one of the numbers that jumped out at us, the Asian area has grown by over 50,000 Rotarians over the past 10 years, while the North American market has actually dropped by that similar 50,000. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do something specifically where Grow Rotary and North America is concerned. The Caribbean is actually growing, so that has helped our particular area. These numbers are as of April 30. We're still around that 1.2 million Rotarians. That's an increase of 27,000 since 1 July. 23% are the lovely ladies in Rotary that are with us today. 6.7 are under 40. We're really not that entirely concerned about that 6.7 because a lot of Rotarians still do not put their age into my Rotary, so that number is actually a little bit skewed. And 36,000 clubs at this point, an increase of 235 since 1 July. For Rotaract, Rotaract currently right now has 197,000 Rotaractors worldwide. That's an increase of 24,000 since 1 July. 10,000 clubs, an increase of 259 since 1 July as well. But with the Rotaract movement, almost half are ladies, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So looking at transitioning from Rotaract and building the relationship between Rotaract and Rotary is very, very beneficial going forward. The demographic there is really excellent to assist with the transitioning coming into Rotary from Rotaract. And you may also have known some of these numbers or seen some of these numbers before. So at this point, well, last year, 158,000 members came in and 164 left. So we really don't have an attraction problem. We have what we call a retention problem, or in Terry's words, an attrition problem. And attrition is real. So when we looked at the information on the survey that was done last year, 90% of prospective members are inspired by our history and mission. 44% said, look, they're not going anywhere. Rotary is fantastic. This is it for me. This is right in line with what my value system is. I am not going anywhere. However, 52% leave within the first 3 years. So especially for the DMCs or if there are any new DMCs on the call, this is a real number to look at, to look to see how best we can work with clubs to look at that 3-year Rotarian to ensure that a club's environment is really phenomenal to keep that membership in line, especially once we've passed 3 years, the numbers tend to drop off a little bit and we get a little better. I just wanted to share a little bit with the North American specific in relation to our decline and what's happening. 10 years ago, we were 394,000. That 50,000 I was referring to through North America, that's the loss specific to North America. So 1 July 2019, we were down at 337,000. So I wanted to just share with you what's happening where North America is concerned and why the need for specific things geared specifically to North America. Take a few minutes and look at this particular slide. It's really what we refer to as a heat map, and I placed all the districts in zone 33. The key here is the green cells are showing you what your highest 1 July figure was for your district, and the orange cells are showing you what the lowest figure is over the past 5 years. The yellow lines on the left is showing if you're a little bit higher at 1 July as of when I ran these numbers on May 11. So say for 7280, 1 July was 1301, they're now at 1336. These numbers may have moved a little bit over the past 2 days, and we can always check those. Look at 7360, 2579 was the highest in 2015. 1 July was 2345, and they actually dipped to 2278 at that point. But glance at 7670, that's a steady growth. Their lowest was in 2015 of 2216. 1 July, they ended at 2224, and since May 11, they're at 2247. So that's a good track to really look at. And I know Terry's MGI reports go through this particular detail with such a level of detail, rather. You can really see what's happening, and that success track and looking at the 2 points of the year when we dip. So those MGI reports are really, really key. And I know Terry did an excellent presentation in the previous DMC training on that. But I just wanted to share with you what this looks like at a snapshot at a glance. And if anyone here needs this particular slide, no problem. I know Terry will put all of this in a Dropbox. But if you want it specifically in an Excel sheet, please send me an email. I'd be happy to share that with you. So why grow Rotary? Looking at a membership drive, and I really love this little graphic where persons are going into the bus, nice, happy, and smiling, and leaving, and their faces aren't looking so hot. So when we did the survey, the bulk of the reason why persons leave is really the club environment. So we have to make the club environment irresistible. And looking at the membership drive from an innovative standpoint, it may be a bus that we're going in, going further, thinking ahead. It may be a double-decker bus. Suppose we moved it to a sports car club and we're doing a drive with 5 or 10 cars going somewhere. So the idea is just to think outside of the box, think differently, because the drive may not, why are we driving? Can't we all be on a plane and we're all in first class going through the membership drive? It could be done that way. So the idea is thinking ahead as to what we can do differently to ensure we don't have this sweep of persons going in and just leaving. So keeping with that particular environment of thinking ahead, I really love the new vision statement that came out of the strategic committee that was formed, and is actually was chaired by our very own director, Stephanie Erdrich. I really love this vision statement because it helps us to think as to what we need to do over the next 5 years, which is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And there are 4 major priorities that came out of that strategic committee. And the 4 major priorities are to increase our impact, which is our legacy and how we measure how we do good in the world, to expand our reach, to look at new audiences, inspire more people, and extend our experience to new persons as well. And this is right in line with Growing Rotary, and it's right in line with innovative clubs to really expand our reach, and also to enhance participant experience, to ensure that we close the back door, and make sure that we provide member value to our Rotarians, and to develop the skills as leaders. And this one increase our ability to adapt, which is to adapt faster to a changing world and embrace change. Now, this particular strategic plan, you couldn't tell me based on what's happening now, it's actually put in action, because we're actually sitting now in a virtual meeting doing virtual training for DMCs across zones 33. So this has shown us that Rotary has the ability to change and to adapt. And I love this graphic. It's absolutely fantastic. This graphic is possibly 2 or 3 years old, thinking ahead about new meeting formats and meeting virtually, and it would possibly was frowned upon then, but now it's the new norm. So this is real proof that we can adapt to whatever comes up. And I love the idea of that there's flexibility in relation to policy and documentation already in place. So looking at different meeting formats, looking at different meeting times and frequency and membership types, all of this is already in place. So with the good foresight of the board, any particular club model or type you can think of, more than likely the policy is already in place to accommodate it. But if there's something else really radical and different that's out of the box, send us an email, we'll pass it through CDS, and I'm sure we'd look at it to some kind of approval to fit it somewhere. So I'm very happy that the flexibility has already been in place from a policy standpoint, to the point where all of these different club models are already in place. Or if the traditional club works for you, that's fantastic. If the e-club works for you, satellite clubs are very, very popular and doing very well. And Andy's going to speak a little bit more about that. Passport clubs, cause-based clubs, alumni clubs, all of these things are already in place. I'm very happy that the back end from a policy standpoint is already there to accommodate whatever we can think of in relation to new club development and innovation. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you of one of the things that's linked specifically to the Grow Rotary initiative. And this was a new club development summit that happened in Evanston in January, where 19 Rotarians, 2 per zone, were invited to participate in a new club development summit. It's really a summit that was director-led, but supported by RI. So this happened in Evanston, where a group of persons get together to see how we can look at innovative clubs, toss around ideas to see, do we call it a club? Should we meet online? Should we meet in person? The idea was to just toss around a bunch of things into a pot to see what best came out from an innovative standpoint. I don't know if you recognize the gentleman to the bottom left. That's actually our very own Patrick Eakes. And Mark Maloney was there as well as leading the charge with this particular new development summit. So again, part of the summit was online training tools, looking at different options. There was a section where we had a breakout sessions. We look at envisioning. We broke up into different work groups to look at designing a club. And the idea was from that new development summit to come from it with fantastic ideas as to how we can grow Rotary to fit the persons who don't necessarily like the traditional model. And sky's the limit. So the idea was to push the envelope to see what can actually come out from that. So 3 of the major things that came out of that particular summit was a physical coming together of ideas and minds in January, and also innovative club advocates that are specific towards the Grow Rotary initiative and looking at Grow Rotary from an innovative club standpoint. And I'm happy to say 2 persons who are innovative club advocates for Zone 33 are on the call today. Again, our very own Patrick Eakes, and Chris Jones is also an innovative club advocate, and you'll hear a lot more from him at the end of my presentation because he's going to be the second speaker today. So you'll get a lot of information from him as well. But I wanted to share with you this particular tool that you have in your toolkit, in your bag of tricks, to assist you in looking at innovative clubs, looking at new club development, and just tossing around ideas. But I love this tremendously because we're going into data analytics to see where prospective members can be, how we can find them, and how we can work closely with our innovative club advocates. So this particular online tool is looking at district-specific data overlapping with club-specific data and public knowledge-based census data to really share with you what's happening. So let me just go right into it to share what that looks like. I chose randomly just District 7630 when I went onto the tool, and you have the option to look at zones 33 and whichever district you wish to look at. So this particular link, Patrick will share as well. The link is growrotary.org. And to sign on to that link, it's your regular My Rotary sign-on credentials and password that can be used. At this point, it's still somewhat in a beta testing mode. Most of the kinks are already out, and that's fine. The idea at this point, though, is not to share it with the full general Rotary population, but mainly with the district leaders that are here and the district membership chairs that are here, to work specifically with the innovative club advocates to really look at opportunities and data to see where new clubs could possibly be formed. So if you look at it, you'll see it looks very similar to what a Google Maps would look like. And those bubbles are in relation to where actual Rotary clubs are, and where those Rotary clubs are linked to the address that is keyed into that club in MyRotary or in Rotary.org. So let me just show you what this looks like when we click Find Clubs and also Members. So the color coding is showing you where physically Rotarians are in relation to where their zip code is. It's not detailed information. It's really just linked to the Rotarians' zip code. So this gives you a nice snapshot as to where Rotarians reside and where their clubs are. So this doesn't really surprise me as to where the cluster of clubs are, and in essence, where Rotarians are as well. And if you notice on the left, you have the option to have an overview. There's a section for opportunities, zip codes, and feedback. And let me just show you what that looks like when we change the opportunities and I actually zoomed up into the platform. So looking into the platform in this particular slide, look to the left, I'm seeing opportunities of ages 18 to 21 in a particular census tract, and ages 21 opportunity 2 in a particular census tract. This is showing me that there are, in that particular census tract, there are 3,400 persons between the ages of 18 and 21 with a median household income of 97,000. What's that saying to me without knowing the particular area? That particular area may be young engineers, or it may be a fintech environment. It may be whatever that age group is really into right now. It may be marketing based or online platform, whatever it is. But just looking at this particular slide, if you notice the highlighted section in the middle, I just hover the mouse over that particular census tract. And if you look to the right, it's saying to us that that particular census tract has 2,400 persons with a median income of 85. Notice there are no clubs in that particular census tract, but there are 5 clubs around it. Looking at the information again without knowing the area, and the DMC of the DG for this particular district would have a lot more data or information on this. But what this is saying to me, possibly that census tract is where a lot of persons physically live, and persons might be working outside of that particular location. So what's popping to mind to me is possibly an evening club could possibly work there, where persons go home, stop one day a week, have a meeting. And so this might be an opportunity for those 5 clubs. It may be a brand new club, it may be an e-club, it may be a satellite club of one of these clubs surrounding that particular census tract, because there's no club in that particular area in that particular census tract. So again, I get very, very excited when I saw this particular tool, because this is what the private sector use. This is what retail stores use, supermarkets and banks, to see where is best to put a branch, where we can get the best bang for our buck, and where our customers are and who our customers are. So I'm very happy that Rotary provided and actually created this platform to assist us specifically with Grow Rotary, and specifically for Grow Rotary for the North American market. So this particular tool is really specific to North America. I'm guessing over time we may expand it throughout the rest of the world, but right now, based on how the North America and the US is, getting the census data is very easy, and it is public knowledge. So it was an easier way to overlay the information that we have. Let me just show you another few slides, or a few more slides. I zoned into another section of 7630, and look at Snow Hill. Snow Hill is a club that's possibly to the southeast of that particular district, and they're kind of in the middle. There's no one else that's really close by. But when I highlighted the census tract northwest of them, I'm seeing 1,100 persons living in that particular census tract with a median income of 74. That's saying to me, there's prospective Rotarians there in that particular census tract. And again, I love the particular platform because this is real data that clubs and the DMC and the innovative club advocates can use to really identify real opportunities. When I hovered to the northeast of Snow Hill again, another census tract, 1,300 in population, a median income of 79. Again, I'm getting excited because possibly a social could happen in those two census tracts, possibly projects within that area to highlight Rotary, or possibly looking at a nice discovery hour done from the Rotary Club of Snow Hill to attract persons from those two census tracts. So again, I got very excited when I saw the platform, and this is a toolkit that we have as district leaders going forward to help us to grow clubs and to grow innovative clubs. So again, the platform is growrotary.org. To sign on to it, it's your regular credentials going into My Rotary. Again, it's in somewhat beta, so we're not really sharing it with the full Rotary world, but you as the district officers can have access to this tool to work very closely with your innovative club advocate. So I close by reminding everyone, so let us all grow Rotary through new and innovative clubs, and we have the tools to do it. We have the mindset to, we have the ability to change because we've seen it and we're doing it now. And luckily we have our two innovative club advocates to help us through this process. And of course, myself, if there's anything at all that you may need, please feel free to send me an email. I'd be happy to go through the platform with you with a little bit more details specific to your club. And I'd be happy to assist with anything else that you may need or whatever may pop up that you may think of as well. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. My email address is there, you may know it, and my number as well. Please feel free to reach out at any time. I'm very flexible, so send an email or do a call without a day or time constraint, so that wouldn't be a problem. So Patrick, any questions? And if not, over to you.
Thank you so much, Audley. Great job. Are there any questions or comments for Audley? We have just a couple minutes for that. Okay, thank you again, Audley. That was fantastic. I'm now pleased to be able to introduce the big gal membership, I'll call him, Chris Jones. He preceded me in this role as Rotary Coordinator, and many of you know him from his 3 years as our Rotary Coordinator, as well as many other leadership roles. Chris is, as you saw, a new innovative club advocate for Zone 33. He lives in Concord, North Carolina, and he is a member of the Cabarrus County Rotary Club. And he's going to talk to us about this new innovative club advocate program. Chris, we really appreciate you being with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
And he followed me as district governor. You should add that to his, his dossier.
He survived, yes.
And I had the scars to prove it, Alan. Anyway, Patrick, thanks for that very warm introduction, and it's great to be with you all today. And it's really great to be back with many of you from the past. Excuse me. So I do want to talk to you today about the Innovative Club Advocates Program. And Audley, thank you so much for setting us up for a great presentation and a follow-up here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And give me a thumbs up. Let me know you can actually see what's on the screen. Super. So this Innovative Club Advocate Program, Audley kind of filled you in a little bit about it. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail. But I do want us to all prepare for the fact that this is a little bit of change, something a little different than what we've done in the past. Clearly, the Grow Rotary tool is going to be new for us to use, but it's also a mindset shift for us to think about. I can tell you the year that I was governor, after my battle scars of following Alan, my focus really was on strengthening clubs and not so much on opening new clubs. And if I had my year to do over again, I would really focus on opening new clubs, because that's where a lot of key growth comes from. And it's an area that I think we need to focus on. And this is not the silver bullet to solving our membership problems. This is one of the tools in the arsenal that we need to be using going forward. I really like to think of this change that we're going to talk about more as an opportunity for chance. And so if we can frame our minds around that, this is really our chance to change the Rotary world and to drive things forward. So what is this innovative club advocacy? And we've acronymed that as ICA. And I've highlighted a few points here on the slide. This was written by our director, Stephanie Urchik, but I think it's really important for us to understand this is about new club development, okay? And that comes in many different forms, and we'll get into some of those as we go along. We also want to be sharing our best practices. So across North America, we are going to be meeting as an entity, I guess you could say, of all of the ICAs from the various zones to share best practices. We'll have a central repository to pull from. We're going to set goals for a heightened and accelerated focus on establishing new club models, and I'll share those with you in a few minutes. These innovative club advocates are going to work closely with Patrick, the RC, and the district leadership teams to establish new and different Rotary clubs. So one of the things that you'll pick up in this presentation today is that while Patrick and I have been deemed the ICAs for the zone, we're going to need district level ICAs as well. And I'll talk some more about that. So the mission statement really for this role is for us to achieve these measurable results in new club formations. So let's talk about that. One of the things we're looking for is a 5% net new club growth in each of our districts. We want to achieve a grand total of 10% net new member growth and a 10% decrease in attrition rates. Now, that's not to say if our attrition rate is currently running at 10%, that we want to see it to go to 0. If we're running 10% in attrition now, we're looking for a 10% decrease, which would be 1% overall, 1 point overall, to get it down to 9%. So I want to frame that a little bit to not scare people by saying, gosh, we're going to go from a 14.2% attrition rate in the zone down to 4.2%. That's not really the objective here. We have a lot of resources to pull from. We have databases that we are going to be able to use. We've got Grow Rotary, which Audley just did a fantastic presentation about, and we have the analytical prowess of Terry Weaver, who is going to help us in this as well. And you know, Terry's just amazing at the work that he does, and was instrumental for me the year that I was a Rotary coordinator, and asked him to come up with a statistical figure that we could look at of measuring our membership growth against our attrition rates, and that's where MGI was born. Terry used to say to me that I'm keeping him out of the Alzheimer's clinic. So anyway, we'll also be sharing a lot of best practices. I talked about that before, focusing on these new club formats. And really, these club formats need to be designed to fit each demographic that they're going to go into. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We really need to take a look at each individual case and figure out what works best. A centralized repository of information, not only for all of the ICAs in North America, but we want to have one of those for our zone as well. And really the key here is to duplicate success. So as we work together to go through this, I really see us transforming Rotary into being new, invigorated, and revived in terms of finding new kinds of members to come be a part of this great organization. And one of the ways I think we can do that is through niche clubs, and Audley approached that a little bit in his presentation. But here are a couple of samples. You know, there may be some Rotarians out there that are very focused on veterans affairs and veterans causes, and we could probably establish a Rotary Club of veterans. Planet Fitness cause-based group is another idea. This inside of corporations bullet point, I referenced to a Rotary Club in the UK that actually opened up inside of Bentley Motors. And all of the workers at Bentley Motors once a week come together as the Rotary Club of Bentley Motors in the UK. We can also take a look at schools and open up Rotary clubs inside of schools for the school teachers and the school administration, or inside of fire and police departments, same type of opportunity there. Getting into some specific causes like human rights or clean water, and you know, then focusing it on specific genres. And I'll just describe that one a little bit to you. So I think many of you know that one of my hobbies is motorcycling, and I am a past president of the International Fellowship of Motorcycling Rotarians. Well, we started a Rotary Club of Motorcycling Rotarians. It's an online club. It meets on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock. And we have programs that are either motorcycle related, or they may even just be general programs like you see in every one of the clubs. But here's the unique thing that we did in this club. I said to you, I'm a member of that club, but I'm not a full member in that club. I'm actually what's classified as an associate member, which we all know as an honorary member in our other clubs. So I pay a very small portion of dues to the club, and I get to participate. In fact, I'm participating on the board of directors for that club. But it's a way that we are engaging more people in Rotary. So that club has roughly 20 active members and about 40 associate members. So we're a total club of 60 people, only 20 of which count on the membership rolls. But think about this, we're 60 members strong doing incredible projects, okay? So it's just another idea for us to think about. Satellite clubs. So as we go out and we start looking at opening new clubs, I think one of our easiest, quickest ways to get clubs off the ground is by starting satellite clubs off of our existing clubs. It's a smaller investment of startup costs, of time. New members that come into those satellite clubs are immediately Rotarians, so we don't have to wait until we've gotten our 20 people minimum to actually form a Rotary Club and make all those people Rotarians. A lot of these clubs can start up as non-traditional type clubs with new formats. Maybe they don't carry around many of the rituals that we have in our existing clubs. They maybe don't have a meal involved, etc. Some of these clubs could be hybrid clubs where they're meeting in person and or online. You know, they could be a hybrid of both in person and online, or one or the other. And quite honestly, the possibilities for these kinds of clubs are endless. And Andy's going to speak a little bit at the end of our presentation today about some success stories. But I can tell you, in one district's case, 7670, a lot of their membership growth has come out of the number of satellite clubs. I think they formed, in the last 3 years, they formed 17 satellite clubs. So they're having some tremendous success there. And I also want us to think about long-term growth strategies as well. And I really think Rotaract clubs are long-term strategy growth possibilities for us. It creates a farm team system, and I'll relate this to my experience when I was in India back in 2014. And I realized that many of the clubs that we were meeting with there had not just one, not just two, but many clubs had several, both Interact and Rotaract clubs associated with their clubs. And what they've done is they've created a farm team system so that people naturally move from Interact to Rotaract, and then they naturally move from Rotaract into Rotary. And if you think back to Audley's originating slide where he started our presentation today, Asia, primarily India, has seen a significant growth in membership, and the US and North America are shrinking in membership. Well, India created this farm team system quite a long time ago, and it's continuing to work today. So as we're out there thinking about innovative club types, we also need to be thinking about our community-based Rotaract clubs. The key here is being intentional about it, and we need to focus on who we're going to target. You know, those recent graduates and those that we just need to heavily focus in the social targeting area, and use community influencers such as mentors, professors, etc., to promote Rotary. This is going to be a learning process for all of us as we go through this innovative club advocacy program. You know, we don't have all the answers. We're going to learn this together. But I would like us to start thinking about envisioning the ideal or the perfect Rotary Club. And think about it. It probably would have a very diverse community. At least the representation in the club would be the representation of the community. It would see things like 100% participation in activities and in service projects. Probably family-oriented, spouse, face-to-face and simulcast meetings, we talked about that earlier, in niche or cause-based. And one area, two areas here, you know, I mentioned fellowships before, but I also think we can focus on Rotary action groups and possibly get some Rotary clubs growing around some of the Rotary action groups that we have in the cause-based area. So a more envisioning of this ideal Rotary club, you know, making a club based on the TV show Cheers or the TV show Friends, and think about the camaraderie and the fellowship and the happiness that all of those shows brought to us. You know, when Norm walked into the bar, everybody yelled Norm, right? So when Audley walks into the club meeting, everybody yells Audley, right? There you go. You know, again, meals probably wouldn't be part of dues because meals would be optional. These meetings can be 60 minutes or even less. They could focus on fellowship as an activity, involve business networking. They'd be fun, maybe meet 2 to 3 times a month, and the list just goes on and on and on. And quite honestly, cost then becomes a non-issue. You know, some of the things that we hear about new young people joining Rotary is that cost is a barrier to entry. These satellite clubs and innovative clubs would eliminate that opportunity. I'm not going to go through this slide today, but there are a lot of myths that are out there. This will be in the slide deck that you can access after the presentation today, and I would encourage you to think through and read through some of the myths that are out there, and they truly are myths. They're not true. You know, like down to the bottom next to the last one on the right, there's a waiting period before a club can be chartered. There's no waiting period, right? It's all about how many people we have in the club. And in Satellite Club, we can start almost instantly. Those of you that have been through the membership training that Terry and I have done in the past years, you've heard me talk about this a lot. Hope is not a strategy. We have to be intentional about what we're going to be doing, and we have to approach this opportunity of innovative clubs as a strategy. So besides the top 10 strategies that are already out there that have been developed, we really need to get into thinking about well, let me back up. First of all, we're going to need a separate committee focused on innovative clubs inside of each one of the districts. And by definition, a committee is more than one individual. So we're going to have a committee focused on how we're going to really create new clubs. Alan, since you're on the call, I'll reference back to the days when Bill Belk was part of the extension committee and all the new clubs in 7680 that opened up with his vision of the new opportunities. And most of those clubs are still operating today and operating very successfully. We need to understand what our target groups are. We need to do a gap analysis and understand what vocations we have in our clubs, what vocations are in the community and are missing, and then target those groups. It's okay to have multiple clubs sponsoring one new club. And we've done that before and been very successful with it. Please don't forget membership leads as an opportunity base to find people for these new innovative clubs. And I'll also throw in there, and I didn't put it in the slide and I should have, but we can go back and get to a lot of our members that have left us. It's interesting to me, I'm participating on many Rotary Club meetings around the zone still, and I'm hearing from people that some of the members that have left in the past are now reappearing in these club meetings that we're doing on Zoom since we're not getting together in person. So there is an opportunity to go back and get some of our lost members. And please don't forget the RI website has a wealth of information available to us, and the link is up here on the screen. So I've hinted around at this so far through the presentation, but I want to be very blunt here. We need district level innovative club advocates. And Patrick and I will be making phone calls next week out to all the districts and talking to you about who the players need to be at the district level to participate in these teams. We need to build these teams quickly, and we need to get to work. July 1 is coming, but we don't need to wait until July 1 to get this program off the ground. So I want to leave you with this. Our goal and our intention is to grow Rotary. We can do this. I'm absolutely convinced we can, and all of you are empowered to accomplish that goal. So my contact information will be in the slide deck when you reference back to it if you have any questions, and I'll open it up for any questions, or Patrick, if you want to move the program forward. So thank you.
Any quick questions or comments?
guys, this is probably to Patrick and to Chris and Audley. Is Rotary going to be intentional about, I was thinking that not seeing any public service announcements, not seeing anything like that, where it'd be a great opportunity to have that on some evening news or whatever, want to change the world, make a difference, please respond to this email address or whatever. Those leads would then come back so we could kind of follow up on those. So it would be a referral instead of a cold call. Didn't know if anything was going to be like that or not.
Well, Rotary International has continued to produce PSA length videos that are available. There are new ones coming out. I just saw a new one within the last 2 weeks that are 30, 60, 90 seconds that can be used anywhere from a placement on radio or TV, or I've even used them at minor league baseball games between innings. Those types of things. So yeah, there's still fresh content being produced.
Well,
That's all.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that's all available in the Brand Center. So if you go to My Rotary and then hover over Brand Center and go look through the Brand Center, all of that information is available on the Brand Center.
But what I was more talking about before Beth gets in, I know she had her hand up, is are they going to do any commercials or anything on national TV to spar interest and stuff, or is it too cost prohibitive? Or I didn't know if they were going to be more proactive and things like that. I understand that we've got plenty of content available that we can use on Facebook or anything else, but two members I know that I called and checked when I was governor, saw something on TV, and that's what made them respond. The call to action was there on TV.
If I can jump in real quick, I remember a discussion where that came up, and I think the major issue is possibly costing, because that kind of the monies for prime time and so on is quite costly. I know there's a discussion about that, and that's something that we all love to do. But my understanding, there is a major cost factor to it. But I'll seek some additional guidance, and I'll escalate this particular question because it's actually a really good one.
Okay, and Beth, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you were aware of the mechanics. I just saw on Facebook they had launched a human trafficking Rotary Club group, and I just kind of wondered what that, if anyone knew what that looked like. And I mean, I have a lot of people in my community that have that interest and concern in that, and just kind of curious about it. Does anyone know about it?
Yeah, that club was chartered in Minnesota last Friday, as far as I know. And frankly, as far as I have to believe it was spearheaded by one of the innovative club advocates there. Minnesota in particular has been a hot spot for these cause-based clubs, a club made up of veterans and those who support veteran issues. There is a club in Minnesota that's all coalesced around environmental topics, and now this human traffic topic. It's still a Rotary Club, but it's just made up of people with that particular common interest, and that, much like Chris's motorcycle club, there will be a specific focus in that area. But it's still it's a Rotary Club.
It's just interesting because I guess when we think of our clubs, we think of helping our communities in so many different ways. So again, and I know we have to, open our minds to these different modules and different thinking, but I think it's kind of interesting when you're focused on just one specific, and how do you keep that flourishing? How do you keep that interest? But
the key to keeping a club going and growing is finding the champion and really champions that'll get those clubs off the ground and stay with them for not just a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but really a couple of years. Those champions are key to our success in club growth. I want to go, Patrick, can I go back to one other question real quick that I think Alan asked relative to public advertising. One thing for us all to keep remember, and I'm going to put some dollars to this, Audley mentioned earlier that we've lost about 57,500 members, round numbers, in the course of about 10 years. Our dues run $65 a year for Rotary. If you take that $65 a year times that 57,000 members, that's $3,737,500 in lost revenue to the organization. Okay, our only revenue stream is member dues. So if we want to do these great big advertising pushes, we have to have the revenue stream in order to do it, and that's all about membership. So everything comes back to, we can't do the things we do as Rotarians unless we have members to do it. We can't automate it. We can't do anything through computer. It's all us, folks, and we need more of us to do the great work that we're doing.
Absolutely.
I'm done, Patrick. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris, for your presentation. Very much appreciate you re-engaging with this group and bringing your knowledge and expertise.
Patrick, Carol Burdett, may I ask a question of you and Chris?
Yes.
Thinking about the Innovative Club Advocates, I am obviously the incoming chair of the of membership in District 7750. So I am trying to put together the most robust committee that we maybe have ever had or have had in a long time. And I'm just curious of the competition of my getting great people to serve on my committee versus the people that you'll be looking for as innovative club advocates, and just wondered what's your take on the two and how they work together.
Well, I think innovative club advocates in the district level are going to be working hand in hand with your membership committee. I mean, this is all pulling in the same direction. Okay, it's 12:46, so I want to introduce our third presenter today is Andy Van Hook. Andy is a past president of the, the Harrisonburg Rotary Club in Virginia, and he is also he's coming into his second year as an assistant Rotary coordinator. I'm sorry? He's coming into his second year as an assistant Rotary coordinator. He covers all of West Virginia, 7545, as well as his home district of 7570, which is the biggest piece of Virginia, plus the Tri-Cities of Tennessee. And Andy's going to talk to us about success stories in innovative clubs. Andy, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks for that intro, Patrick. And one, to piggyback on Alan's question earlier, I think those materials are there, and I think us as Rotarians and clubs and districts, we need to be the grassroots campaign to get those messages out to help in that recruiting front, especially with the membership losses that we've seen across the U.S. and North America. Okay, enough of that. Thank you all for having me today, and I'm going to screen share here quickly so we can talk about some success stories. Do you all have it? Let's hope so. All right. So going through some success stories here. Going to talk a lot about satellite.
Strategy there, Andy. Hope it's not strategy, just so you know.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to talk about some success stories today and what we've seen in a couple of different districts, and boil it down even to area and club level. So I'm going to kick off with District 7670, as was mentioned a few minutes earlier. In Western North Carolina, they really championed the satellite club formation. And in last year, they started 7 new satellite clubs and saw a net gain of 56 Rotarians. A net gain of 56 Rotarians. How about one more time? A net gain of 56 Rotarians. That's pretty impressive. So the satellite clubs were really working in that district. Moving on to my home district of 7570, and up here in Little Area 3, that's my home area, and my home club sponsored a satellite club that started in September of 2019. And in their first interest meeting was in July. They had 20 people show up to the first interest meeting. The second interest meeting was in August. They had another 20 plus people show up to that one. And in their first official meeting in September, they inducted 28 new Rotarians. And so far this year, they have 32 new Rotarians and 4 transfers. And the thing about the transfers is those were Rotarians that we were going to lose, or our other club was going to lose. And talking to those folks, the times that the clubs were meeting just wasn't working for them anymore. The dues became a bit of an issue, and a couple of them didn't feel that there was a good connection with their original club. So the satellite club gave them another opportunity to try out Rotary and to have another chance to stay engaged as Rotarians. I've got some information on the next slide about how the Rocktown Rotary Satellite Club, how they do it. They have a monthly meeting and a monthly service project. So typically their monthly meeting has the executive director or somebody from the nonprofit organization that they're going to be doing the service project for speak. So that's their primary speaker. They spend a good amount, probably the first 20 to 25 minutes in more of a networking type scenario. It's an after hours club, and the meals and drinks are on their own. So that makes for low dues for their members. And what they really, their key audiences, as Chris mentioned earlier, knowing who those targets are, was teachers and young professionals. The other clubs in my area are a breakfast club and lunch clubs. And for teachers, that's nearly impossible for them to make those meetings. So an after hours club has been great for them. And the same holds true for young professionals who may not quite have the clout in their career to leave for an hour plus luncheon in the middle of the day once a week. So that's been a really good focus for them and who they've brought in. And another part of that too is they've promised their members that they will hold their meeting to an hour. So they start at 5:30 and they were done by 6:30 or earlier. If people want to stay around and have a drink and have dinner, that's fine. But their goal is for a lot of these members to get them home to have dinner with their families. And, it is, it's a really interesting club. Of the 36 members 36 members that they have, I would say only 6 of them are male. So it's majority female, quite a diverse club as far as race, ethnicity, and background. So they've done a really good job of really reshaping what Rotary means and looks like in our community. As I said, low dues. They do icebreakers at the beginning of each meeting to encourage meeting new people. So they'll hand out a certain color to X number of people, so they have to go and talk about a certain topic. So it helps to encourage kind of this club family relationship. And the most important thing of this is they've made it their own. They did not become just a cookie cutter of their host club and just make it at 5:30 in the evening. They've made it their own. They've pretty much, they don't do any of the quote unquote traditional things such as singing or prayers or that kind of thing. They do the 4-way test though. They have found that was something that they wanted to incorporate because they thought it was important. So that was a pretty key thing for them, was to make it their own and not try to be the parent club. As Chris was saying earlier, and he had a very similar graphic, is, is about attraction. And so why are we pushing satellite clubs? Is, well, A, they're easy to start, B, they're easy to manage, and C, they're easy to see success. And it gives us the opportunity as Rotarians and Rotary districts and clubs to attract new people who may not like the current club, may not be able to attend based on schedule, may not be able to afford the dues. It's a way to reach people who it's also a way to reach people who may not have traditionally participated in Rotary in their community based on these other factors. So using these satellite as an opportunity to attract new folks. And, the biggest thing is engagement. I think, to me, everything here that we're talking about today starts and ends with the word engage. As the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it, engage is to hold the attention of or to induce to participate. The successful satellite clubs are engaging their members in a different way. And as we talked about earlier, they aren't a carbon copy of their parent club. So keep that engagement factor in mind. It's really important. And the last thing is successful people think differently. This is an opportunity to rethink membership. If your attraction model looks and feels like it did 30 years ago, it's time for a change. And a popular public relations term is don't let a good crisis go to waste. So now's your time to take a critical look at everything you do as a district, particularly in how you look and work on membership. Take this opportunity to reimagine what Rotary would look like if you could start over in 2020, because right now you can. You've never had this opportunity. Now's the opportunity to hit that reset button and rethink what Rotary can look like in your district in terms of membership. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions or comments for Andy?
You know, I have a comment. Our club is meeting every other week via Zoom. As everybody's meetings, it's a little more relaxed. We haven't started speakers yet, but probably will. And yesterday we were talking, my thought was, we have an awful lot of people who are craving social interaction. And if that be via the internet, so be it. I mean, it can be fun and interesting. We may have an opportunity for recruitment here. We're looking at this as a disadvantage. With some people, it may be an advantage. I think we have to figure out a way to get across to people that, hey, we're here and we have online options which can connect you to people. That's something that's needed right now. And another member said, why could we not have a subgroup of our club that meets via Zoom all the time because it works better for them? And I think that is something to think hard about, because it gives them the Rotary infrastructure and experience, having a club that they are a subset of and can visit if they want, but also gives them the independence to do what they do. So I guess in essence, that is a satellite club, but I think there's going to be a lot of reluctance for a long time to meet in person. And I'm in West Virginia, where we have very low numbers. I can imagine the situation in more metro areas and how that sense will persist much longer. So those are just thoughts more than questions, but I agree with Andy. We have opportunities.
You know, it's interesting, Rebecca. Thanks for that comment. The Satellite Club, they've been meeting via Zoom as well. And each of the last 2 months that they've had meetings, they've had at least 2 guests that people have invited to the Zoom meeting. So they're still actively out recruiting people to come and participate in their Rotary Club, even though it's via online Zoom meeting. And one of them had asked for an application in the chat to the leadership team yesterday. So, I mean, the opportunities are there. We just have to be active.
You know, Andy, one thing we talked about, one thing we need, what is our dues structure while we're not meeting in a formal location? I mean, for a standard club, we kind of need to figure that out, because we need to be able to say to somebody, okay, here's what you're paying now if you want to join the regular club. It may go back to this. We don't know. I mean, that uncertainty is there. But I figure a lot of clubs don't know exactly what they ought to be paying right now, and we probably need to figure that out.
Becky, I think it's an important distinction to make. We talk about dues a lot, where really there's a bucket for dues, there's a bucket for meals, and often we say dues when we're talking about both. The dues for Rotary are modest, and for most clubs are modest. The meals are expensive. And when Andy talks about a club where, yes, you can stay and you can eat afterward, that keeps the cost of the club low. And as I've heard Terry Weaver say many times, in that situation, particularly with satellites, the people who stay and they eat, they don't associate that cost with Rotary. That's cost that they're doing after Rotary. So I think it's important as we think about the cost of Rotary that we separate dues and meals. And I think we're going to see more and more clubs where meals are either optional or not part of the meeting.
But it's also their choice, right?
It's true.
In the old model, traditional model, it's they have to pay for those meals. In this model, they choose whether or not they want to pay for the meal. So I think there's a lot that goes behind that too, is that choice aspect.
Yeah. And Becky, also back to your original comment, I don't refer to my own club very often, but it is on fire when it comes to membership this year. We have inducted 4 members since we've been meeting virtually. One of those attended 3 meetings virtually, has never been to a physical meeting, has applied, has been approved, has been inducted. It's absolutely a mindset. We're on a drive this year to reach 101 members, which will be plus 24, and we're getting really close. So we're not stopping because of the circumstances that have been thrust upon us. We're continuing on. Other questions or comments?
Great presentation, everybody. It's a wonderful. A repeat was really good for me because I picked up some points I missed on Tuesday. Thanks for everybody participating and doing what they've done. Thanks.
Thanks
Patrick,
for coming
I
in,
would
Charles.
mention, I'm less bashful than you are talking about my own club, but we have been sending our virtual meeting announcements, our Zoom links, as well as our after meeting recording postings to our over 400 potential and prospective members. And we've actually had, within the last 2 weeks, several of those put their hand up in the air and express re-interest in something. And we haven't heard from these folks for a long time, but I'll have to underscore this drip marketing thing works. If you will put your potential members in your DACDB database and then send them something of meaningful content on occasion, some of those folks will turn into members.
It's definitely worth the effort. There's no question.
And just to add real quick, Patrick, I've been looking for clubs online. Now is a good time to remind your clubs as DMCs to update their online presence in relation to what's on Facebook, if it's up-to-date information, or update their websites to show possibly or say, we're no longer meeting at this particular location, we're meeting now on Zoom. Here's a link, or here's where to contact us, or here's if you want to join. I've been trying to find a few clubs, and when I went online, I couldn't. So I'm just sharing that as well, so now is the time. When I looked at their Facebook page, I'm seeing pictures from 2018. So no, I'm not sure if they're still operating or not. So I just wanted to share that when I remember just now when Terry mentioned that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Audley. That's a great suggestion. Anything else before we wrap up today? Okay, well, I will mention that once again, I'll send a link out tomorrow that will have a video from this week, as well as all 3 PowerPoints that you saw today. I want to thank all 3 speakers. Chris had to leave for a meeting at 1 o'clock, but Andy and Audley are still on the line. Thank you both, gentlemen. It's a particularly good session. Next week, we will meet again, have available to you, I'll get you, Irvin, at Tuesday at 5 p.m. or Thursday at noon again. And we'll be covering special challenges for membership, which will include both the topic of small clubs, which is kind of its own topic, as well as membership in a COVID and a post-COVID world. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Irvin, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I didn't. I was just waving.
Oh, he was waving. Okay.
Just waving.
Okay.
Goodbye to everyone.
Well, with that, we will end our meeting, and let's all wave to Irvin and say goodbye. Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah.
You too.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Take care.